I'm Trudy Bender, MTSS Content Manager at BranchingMinds.
And I'm Emily Rose Berry, Vice President of Product at BranchingMinds, and welcome to our very first MTSS Coffee Break. We are so excited to sit down with you and talk about best practices to improve your MTSS collaboration.
But before we kick things off, we really must know what team you're on, Team Coffee or Team Tea. You can have whatever you like. It's your coffee break. I'm definitely on Team Coffee. How about you, Emily?
Oh my gosh, Team Coffee all day, every day.
Well, we are both on Team Coffee, but we know some of you might be on Team Tea, and that's okay. It takes all kinds. And it takes all kinds in MTSS as well. That's why collaboration is so important. Let's dive into our first best practice for collaboration in MTSS.
So today we are talking about creating clear lanes for your MTSS staff and team. Have you ever heard that phrase that if it's everybody's responsibility, it's actually nobody's responsibility because everyone kind of thinks everyone else is doing something. And we definitely find here at BranchingMinds that having that technology in place to see those clear lanes of responsibility is really, really helpful. But a first step before you even start thinking about the tech is really looking at your own structures at your district and figuring out what those clear lanes are going to be. And Trudy, I know you were a district administrator who did this work. I'm curious how you approached it.
You're so right. There's so much foundational work that goes behind being able to use the tools that you have well. And part of that is the way that you've structured your teams and making sure that you have the right people around the table. I can tell you that it's so frustrating to be in a meeting where you realize, the people who have the authority to make this decision are actually not here. And so it's really important to think through your team structure, both how those teams fit together and cover the work, and who is actually serving on those teams to make sure that you've got the right people there.
Did you ever find when you were doing that activity that there was an important voice that you were actually missing that you wanted to invite in?
Yeah, that's so true. So at the campus level, we often found that we would be missing the voice of the people who were actually on the ground working directly with students who had the most intimate knowledge of what those students' needs were. And that was paraprofessionals. So one of the things that we did at the campus level was to actually include our paraprofessionals on our MTSS behavior teams, especially as we got into the tier 2 and tier 3 level needs. Often those paraprofessionals didn't know the students just within the school walls, but outside as well. And so they were really able to help us create supports for the student that were helpful in school and carried out into that student's everyday life as well. So as you're thinking this through, you've got to think about a couple of different levels. So I said, how many teams do you actually need? Especially on a small campus, you may find that you don't need to create another team for MTSS. You may have structures already in place that just need a little bit of tweaking. Maybe you need to add in a person, or there's a person who doesn't need to be there. Sometimes we don't think about that either. Like, we can waste people's time if we have them sitting in a meeting that they don't really need to attend. So making sure that the people are there, have information to bring and need to be a part of that meeting. Think about those team structures. How do the different teams fit together? And it's really important not just to think about it, but to write it down, because something about that act of writing it down really helps you clarify exactly what is the role of this team, what is this team's responsibility, and then what are the individual team members responsible for? This can really help prevent both gaps and also overlap in the work that's happening.
This is such important pre-work because we know that time is so valuable in a school district, especially throughout the school year. And just the idea that you could be wasting time either by not having the right people at the room or, bringing people in who didn't need to be there. It's really, really important to think about that efficiency in advance. So one thing that I really love about the BranchingMinds platform is the way that you can actually see and visualize the allocation of those resources across grade levels and across schools and make sure that they're being kind of appropriately allocated. Is that something that you had any experience with?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things the Branching Minds platform does to help that is called the tier level report, where you can
Mhm.
see clearly where your needs are. So if you get this report, you get an immediate visual across your entire district for which campuses have a higher level of need. So for example, looking right here at this tier level report, I can see Chestnut Elementary is doing really, really well. Their students are meeting those benchmarks and doing really well. But Elm Elementary is struggling a little bit more. Hickory High School is struggling just a little bit more. And what we want to be careful about, we don't want to pull away the supports that are helping Chestnut Elementary be so
Mhm.
successful. And sometimes that can really happen, right? Like a school is being successful. So we pull
Right,
away a
right.
bunch of support and say, oh, we've got to send it all over there. We don't want to do that. But at the same time, we want to take a careful look at where our resources are being allocated and ask the question, how can we best distribute our resources to meet the needs of all of our students? And that really is the promise of MTSS, is that you can organize your resources, which are limited.
Mhm.
We don't have unlimited resources, right? To take what we have and make the very most of it by being very intentional, to meet the needs of our students and be mindful about the way that we're allocating those resources. And the tier level report is a really helpful tool
Yeah.
to be able to see that.
Yeah, it at least gives you a vehicle to ask the important question, right? To
Mhm.
say, do we really need the same number of reading interventionists at Chestnut and Birch and Elm Elementary
That's
this
right.
quarter, right? Between now and the next screening period. And I know that when you're a teacher and a support team member working at the ground level, it can often feel like you don't really understand why and how those resourcing decisions are being made, right? So if you are there during doing the work at Beach Elementary and seeing how much need there is, you can start to feel like, I don't understand why I'm the only person who sees this. I don't
Mhm.
understand what decision making went into deciding that we would have one reading interventionist.
Mhm.
And so having something where everyone can kind of see that same data
Mhm.
in the same way, we're all operating from the same set of information, and we can actually make that decision collaboratively. It can be a decision that's made including district administrators and building administrators, and maybe even MTSS team leadership if you have that in place at your district, so that we all understand and have that buy-in for exactly why those intervention decisions were made. Another example here that I like is to look at you can just kind of being able to toggle between topics as well, because we think about, oh, student need, let's just throw all of the students who need throw all of the interventionists at the students who need them. But really those needs can be different in different topic areas, right? What do our students need for reading, and then what do they need for SEL and behavioral health? And if I open up a school, I can actually see that different breakdown grade level by grade level. So now we can think about, how am I pushing those interventionists forward within a grade level, right? What are the needs of my kindergartners as opposed to my fifth graders? And how can I make sure my behavior interventionists are working with those groups differently?
So we have a couple of things that we want to offer you as we bring this to a close today. One is to know that Branching Minds is here to support you in both that infrastructure work as well as the platform work. So one of those ways is in the development of a handbook. I had mentioned the importance of actually writing down and figuring out, like, what is our team structure? What are the roles of each team and each person on that team? And creating a handbook is the best way to get that all down. And our professional services can really help you with that. We also, of course, have our platform, which can support you in seeing that data, eliminating those silos. We have so many great resources for creating a successful MTSS team that can provide additional support for you, and we'll be linking a few of them here. We hope these strategies will help you engage more effectively with your colleagues and take your collaboration to the next level in MTSS.
And don't forget to reach out to us. We want to work with you to build an MTSS infrastructure where people truly understand what their roles are and can collaborate in an efficient way.
Stay tuned for our next coffee break, in which we will discuss best practices for meetings that actually get things done.
Oh my gosh, what a great idea. Can't wait to talk about that.